Do webs attach to buildings in your game?
Hell no.
Actually, that's not true. Start the video again. That's much better. Anyways, welcome back, true believers and all you spectacular Spidey fans, to another Spider-Man PS4 related video. So of course, the topic for discussion in today's video is obviously talking about the web swinging. When it comes to Spider-Man games, the main feature that every player looks forward to the most is the web swinging throughout New York City. Being able to traverse around this concrete jungle is one of the most fun aspects about any Spider-Man game out there. Now, of course, there have been several, and I do mean several Spider-Man games in the past that have tried to accomplish the feature of creating the best web swinging possible in any free-roaming Spider-Man game. And of course, the main game that people consider to have the best web swinging ever is in Spider-Man 2. And after thoroughly analyzing Game Informer's coverage, as well as having watched the recent web swinging video multiple times, I think it is safe to guarantee at this point that even though we have seen alpha footage of this game, Spider-Man PS4's web swinging is going to absolutely beat Spider-Man 2's. And I'm going to prove it to all of you right now. So to reference back to Game Informer, Kyle Hilliard was one of the people to go at Insomniac Games' office and actually experience the web swinging firsthand. And he wrote an entirely detailed description from top to bottom in regards to how it works and how he felt playing it. So to reference Kyle's description, he goes on to saying, "The web swinging. My personal interest in Insomniac's take on Spider-Man revolves almost entirely around the web swinging. I look forward to beating up bad guys and seeing where the story goes as it follows this older, more mature version of Peter Parker, but web swinging is the activity I love most about Spider-Man games. It's the thing that could easily make or break this new direction for the character. Any hesitancy I had about how web swinging would work was quickly squashed. However, when we asked creative director Brian Intar if webs will stick to buildings, they better if I want this game to sell at all," he replied somewhat sarcastically. Games like Assassin's Creed, which similarly rely on open world movement as a factor of fun, but in a very different way, have increasingly simplified the process of moving with each sequel, sacrificing full control in favor of smoother parkour. That isn't the case here, as web swinging is an active process. It's not complicated, but the door has been left open so players can perform impressive movements that require frequent input. As promised, webs do stick to buildings when you throw them out, and physics are an important factor. Where you leave the swing changes Spider-Man's trajectory. If you leave at the bottom of the swing, you move farther forward. If you leave on an upward trajectory, Spider-Man flies higher. You can also press web zip without having a web attached to a building to make Spider-Man throw out two webs and pull himself forward, and you can use that maneuver to make sharp turns or even U-turns. Spider-Man can also perch atop tons of specific points on buildings and street signs and use them as launch pads or just as a place to sit and take in the city. He can also run along walls and parkour over obstacles. Perches are highlighted by small white circles in front of you, giving you a quick but clear understanding of what you can latch onto or fling off of. If Spider-Man is running up a wall and you jump at the top of the building at the right moment, he will vault over in an impressive arc. These are just some of the baseline maneuvers Insomniac introduced to us, promising that plenty of unlocks and upgrades will surface over the course of the game to improve his movement. Even with a Spider-Man who wasn't fully powered up though, moving through the world was incredibly fast, fluid, and fun. Among Insomniac's goals, when it comes to web swinging specifically, is to make sure Spider-Man never slows down or stops. Combining web swinging, web zipping, the ability to pull into a full dive, and the assorted perch and launching options meant that once I got into the rhythm of movement, I felt unstoppable. Even actions like needing to make a sharp turn or needing to turn around entirely felt fluid and did not interrupt the flow of movement. The perching goes a long way in making things flow and move without having to rely entirely on webs. Being able to mix up my actions and do more than just swing and gain a lot of speed from doing more than just swinging gave me a great sense of control over my movement. I wasn't just holding down a button and leaning on the control stick to move through the city. I was actively controlling Spider-Man. It didn't take us long to start digging into the more complicated maneuvers, like using a web to round a corner as you parkour along the side of a building, and I cannot wait to see what I can pull off after spending hours with the game. And to finalize Kyle's article, he left an update about all the specific controls that you can use in the game for web swinging. And just seeing all the intricacies within the web swinging controls just gets me very excited to see how it's going to work in the final game. And to point out an important part about Kyle's article, he stated that he was playing as a Spider-Man who wasn't fully upgraded yet in regards to the web swinging. And that thoroughly builds off of what game director Ryan Smith says in this interview right here.
As you level up through the game, you actually do get some speed boosts, so you start going faster. There's also some of those moves that we've talked about that really give you bursts of momentum are unlockable over the course of the game.
So given not only that the control system for the web swinging looks and seems to feel extremely well detailed, we are also going to be able to fully upgrade Spider-Man's web swinging throughout the game. Adding on to things like bursts of momentum as well as the fluidity of swinging and zipping at the same time is going to make the player feel extremely connected to Spider-Man when swinging throughout New York City. And adding on to things like parkour just gives you even more detail when trying to traverse around this concrete jungle. Now, I'm not trying to state that the web swinging in Spider-Man 2 was bad by any means. That web swinging in that game was phenomenal. And that also goes for the other free-roaming Spider-Man games, like my personal favorite, Web of Shadows, and also my second favorite of Ultimate Spider-Man. But given from what we've seen in the alpha footage of Spider-Man PS4's traversal system, it just looks like an incredibly fluid and also very well detailed way to try and have players fully feel like that they are Spider-Man. And if everything that we've seen so far of the Spider-Man PS4 web swinging footage is Spider-Man when he's not fully upgraded, I'm going to lose my mind when we see him how he's at his max potential. But anyways guys, that's all I have for you today. Thank you all so much for watching, and let me know all your thoughts in the comments section down below. Do you think that the traversal in Spider-Man PS4 looks insane, and do you think that it's going to beat Spider-Man 2's? But anyways guys, thank you all so much for watching. Stay spectacular, Spidey fans. Peace out.
Do webs attach to buildings in your game?
Hell no.
Is Mary Jane playable in the game?
Hell no.
Is Peter Parker playable?
Hell no.
Is Spider-Man playable?
Hell no.
Thank you for your service.
Anytime.